All right, folks, we are beginning today chapter 42. Chapter 42, in one word, is Liyiro. It's a concept of fear slash respect slash awe, as we'll learn about two different levels of what it means: fear, again, slash awe, respect. We've already learned partially, and we're continuing on the note that we have learned till now. And the Alter Rebbe begins in saying, now we can understand something that the Talmud teaches us. The Talmud says an interesting statement based on the verse in Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy is the last 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, is speaking to the Jewish people and giving them their final marching orders before his passing. And Joshua was taking over the leadership of the Jewish people, going into the land of Israel, of course, after the 40 years of being in the desert. So he sums up, so to speak, in one verse. One verse. And what is that one verse? Like, what simply is needed from us, what God wants from us. And he says, Bata Yisrael, and now, Israel, Jewish people, Ma Hashem Elokeichem shel eschem. Rather. What is God, the Lord your God, requiring from you? What does he need from you? What does he want from you? What is he requiring? And he responds, of course, to his rhetorical question, Ki im liyira es Hashem Elokecha, only to fear the Lord your God. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu is saying to the Jewish people. Again, this is before they're coming into the Holy Land, giving them their marching orders. That's all. That's all he has. So the Gemara, the Talmud, asks a question on this statement. And fear is such a small thing? And the Talmud responds, yes. In the case of Moses, it's a small thing. End of the piece that the Alter Rebbe quotes. The Alter Rebbe has a problem with this. Who is the question about his fear of God? And remember, as we have learned till now, fear is not fear of punishment. And that's not the reference over here, as far as the Alter Rebbe is understanding. It's not the fear of punishment, because maybe that is a small thing. But the fear of the presence of God, that God is real, that there is a presence of the divine in our lives, in our world, in our reality. So the problem, though, in this piece of Talmud, before taking it apart, is very simple. The question, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses is speaking to the people, and says that the simple thing that God is only requiring from you is to fear him. And then the Talmud says, well, is that really so simple? Is that so easy? Is that? And the answer is yes, for Moshe it is. The question's not about Moshe. For him, that fear of God, the presence of God is simple for him. Oh, well, thank you. That we get. We're not talking about him. We're talking about every single Jew. That's who he's talking to. So the piece of Talmud doesn't seem to make sense. So Alter Rebbe explains. He says an amazing idea over here. That every single Jew has a piece of Moses in them. Now, why would we have a piece of Moses in us? Well, the truth is, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, is one of the 7 shepherds of the Jewish people. The first one is Abraham, and Isaac and Jacob, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They are shepherds. Now, what is a shepherd? A shepherd is someone who takes care of their flock, who gives vitality to the flock, who gives life to the flock. That's what a shepherd is. So that is the metaphor for us to understand that the 7 shepherds of the Jewish people are those that give us Vitality. By the way, there's three, that's four we have so far. The other three, Yosef, David, and Shlomo. If I recall correctly, I think that's one opinion. I think there might be another opinion of whether Shlomo is the one. I don't remember now. But, oh, sorry. No, the Gemara says, Avram, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David, not Shlomo, not King Solomon. Okay, in any case, the point is that what does it mean that they give vitality? Because they cause vitality and godliness to flow into the souls of the Jewish people. That's why they're called shepherds. Again, a shepherd is someone who's providing nourishment for the sheep. So what is the nourishment that these holy people have provided for us? Is vitality and godliness. So Abraham, what did he provide? Abraham, he provided chesed, loving kindness. Yitzchak is yira, fear. Gvura. Yaakov is tiferes. What did Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's our reference over here, I just mentioned those, briefly. That's not the point over here. The point over here is Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses. What's he providing for us? He's providing for us das, knowledge. Let's explain what that means. But before we explain that, I want to point out something over here. In the Hebrew over here, the Alter Rebbe, it says Chayus Ve'elokus, which means vitality. He calls vitality and godliness. So, however we know this, we know that the Alter Rebbe, everything he wrote in Tanya is so precise. Every time he wrote anything in Tanya, he would go through the entire 53 chapters and see how it all connects with each other. And nothing is superfluous. There was always a novel idea. And everything is in perfect, not just order, but every word. So much so that here he writes the words godliness, vitality and godliness, chayis ve'elokus. And he pondered upon this for several weeks. Should it be godly vitality or should it be vitality and godliness? In other words, putting the word and there and making it two separate ideas. Vitality and godliness are two separate ideas, or they are just one idea, vitality and godliness. Vital godliness. In the end, he put the vav and they're two separate ideas. But he spent several weeks going over this and over. Well, what was going on in his mind, I have no idea. We just know the fact that this is the engagement in the teaching of Tanya, or rather the writing of it, that it should be so precise and exact. Okay, that was a parenthetical remark. Let's go back now. That what is the faithful shepherd, Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, providing for the Jewish people, that we have a part of him in us that is giving us something unique. So again, Abraham, loving kindness. What Moshe gives is das, as we mentioned. Das, we translate as knowledge. Das is the third part of the intellectual process. That is something very unique about it. It is sort of the connector. It is the connector between intelligence and emotions. It's about taking that which we know and funneling it into our hearts, that we can actually have some kind of an experience, making it, so to speak, real. Well, not so to speak, but actually real. In other words, what Moshe Rabbeinu is giving us is that godliness should be self-evident and experienced by us. That's the power of Moshe Rabbeinu, and that spark we have of him within us. What does that mean exactly? So being the Moshe Rabbeinu, he himself is an embodiment of the divine das of God, which God is the knower, the known, and the knowledge all as one. And what does that mean? We've had this idea before, but we'll expound upon it again. In the human context, my soul is the knower, my brain is the knowledge, is the tool of knowledge, and the known is the piece of information that I know. I know that, Vilma is joining us here on Clubhouse. I know that, Denise and Linda are twins joining us on Facebook, right? Are any of my kids joining me here on Instagram? No, that I don't know, because I don't see them. I know that, right? Those three things are separate entities. The knowledge that I have, the known, my tool, my brain is the tool of knowledge, and me being the knower. By God Almighty, they're all one and the same thing, though. He is the knower, the known, and the knowledge all is one. And that's where Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, gets his knowledge, because he's bound up with God. Now, that doesn't mean he has that within him, because he's human, so he doesn't. But that's the source of his knowledge, as he is a mirror reflection of the divine knowledge, Das Elyon. And therefore his perception of godliness is far and above and beyond ours. But being that he's a faithful shepherd, he's not there for his own experience, but to give us some sort of that kind of experience in godliness, in the divine. Therefore he is that faithful shepherd, giving that das to us as a capability that what? That we can make godliness self-evident for us and experience. Now, let's back up for a moment. Whoa. I need Moshe Rabbeinu for that? Don't I have my own divine soul that I am connected to God on my own right? What do I need him? What do I need him for? So the answer is, of course I have faith and a soul that can perceive godliness. The problem is, being the lower level of a soul and the lack of capacity that my soul has, I have that only in a very superficial manner, in a manner that encompasses me, but is not permeating my reality. So do I know the truth? Yeah. Do I live by the truth every moment? No, I don't. I wish I did every moment. I try. But I definitely don't. Why? Because the truth of godliness that is self-evident is not a truth that's permeating me. That is not really in every fiber of my being. Not at all. It is on my own right, a part of my soul, but it's something that that hovers, that is there, but not completely there. What is the faithful shepherd doing? That faithful shepherd is giving me the capacity that I can make it real for me through the teachings, through the living of it himself. Gives me the capacity that I can now make that self-evident and real in a way that I live with it, not just know it. But I can take it, and Das is, again, taking something that's intellectual and being able to funnel it into my heart, and that whether I actually feel it in my heart or I just have an intellectual awareness and a love and a mental capacity for it, but it's an experience on a level that it's real, palpable. Just as I bang this table, it makes a noise and I feel it in my fist, that's real. So it is that godliness can become that. How? Because I have a piece of Moshe Rabbeinu in me that he gives me that capacity that when we'll get more into that, what that means. Now, as a teacher, the faithful shepherd, being able to give that to me. The Alter Rebbe continues. And for me, this is Personally, every part of Tanya is fascinating and enriching and the truth, and it's something we got to live with, absolutely. But this is something, you know, in particular. The Alter Rebbe continues. He says, in addition, the every generation there's a Moshe Rabbeinu. The continuation of that Moses that was the original one that gave us the Torah at Mount Sinai. It's not just that generation, there's a continuation of him. The spark of his soul is clothed in the body and the soul of the great holy sages of each and every generation. By the way, because and that those great holy sages, they impart the knowledge to the people of that generation. To know, not to knowledge, das, to make it real for us, the greatness of God, our relationship with God, that we can have it, we can serve him with heart and soul. That becomes real. Now, when Mashiach will come, we no longer will need a teacher, because God's presence will be so real that we will be able to perceive it on our own stead. We'll be able to perceive it in our own reality. We don't need the teacher to be able to do that. But now that we're in exile, we're time of a world that's full of darkness, we need the light of that great teacher. Who's that? Well, the Alter Rebbe, of course, is doing that for us right now in his teachings, and our dear Rebbe is doing it through his teachings likewise. So this is what it means to ultimately occur. That das, as I mentioned before, that just as it's real, that I pound on the table and I feel it, and my five senses are so real for me. Godliness, the presence of God in my life, the realness of God in my life, as a creator, as he guides me in my life, as he is ever present, is just as material things to the physical eye are real, so likewise this becomes real for us. That's what a Moshe Rabbeinu does, the original one, and a spark of him in every generation. There is a continuation of him, the extension of him, the holy people, the holy righteous people of every generation, that they feed us that, just as a shepherd feeds his flock. We are fed vitality and godliness. Vitality that is a vitality that is coming directly from God, godliness that it can become apparent and real for us. And this is the idea of das. Das comes from the word to connect. As it says, Adam Yada Chava, Adam knew Eve. What does it mean? They had relations. They had physical relations. Why does it say knew her? It says, say relations. What do you mean knew? Because knowing on this level means an intimate knowledge, a real deep connection, just as relations between husband and wife in a physical manner brings a very deep bond. So this is a deep bond that we can have. This is what we're capable of, because this has been given to us, gifted to us by Moshe Rabbeinu, the Moses of every generation, that we can be completely united. We can focus on this. We can think about this and make this real for us in a very palpable, meaningful way. Whew. Now, I mentioned before, one of the things that, by the way, think about this and meditate upon it. It'd be a good idea, of course. But one of the things that I mentioned, that for me this is particular, very meaningful, because this is one of the few places in Tanya that we have the idea of what a Rebbe is. A Rebbe is that individual who's capable of giving us something that is so real for us. Our deeper, more profound, inward, permeated connection with God, the divine, with truth, with my real, deeper part of my soul. That's a powerful and beautiful thing that we've been given as a gift of a Rebbe that gives us that. So the first Rebbe was Moshe Rabbeinu, or maybe before that, I guess it's Avram Avinu, Abraham, right? And then we have now, in our generation, our dear Rebbe. So, okay. So, do we have any questions, any comments? So I have a question over here from Danyar. Danyar, I don't know if I pronounced that right. I'd also like to know your perspective on the promotions and the subconscious sensing of what to come in Judaism. Okay, I'm not exactly clear what that question is. My premonitions on the subconscious sensing of what to come. Okay, I might have to get back to that because I'm not clear on that. By the way, anybody on Facebook who has a question, or on Instagram if you have a question, put 2 question marks first, then ask your question. That way I know it's a question, because there's many comments and many things that are going on that I don't clearly have an idea. Sometimes it's a question. Andrew, is the soul of Mashiach coming from Chachma? And what's Mashiach's connection with the Emet, I guess, with the truth? Oh, that was a big question. Mashiach's soul, is it coming from Chachma? Well, by the way, I want to let you know, at the end of April, I'm giving a course, a JLI course on Mashiach, and we're going to deal with that then at greater length, in the soul of Mashiach, and where it comes from. But actually, the soul of Mashiach probably, comes from Malchus, but that's a whole different discussion for another time. Okay, so Andrew Danier. Okay, let me see other questions here. James, is Mashiach a person, an idea, or all of the society awakening at once? So it's all of the above. Mashiach is a person. Mashiach is the society awakening to the reality of God, the truth of that presence that we're speaking about here. And again, more on that to come at the end of the month. Denise, does Mashiach have a spark of Moshe in him? Absolutely. Mashiach has a spark of Moshe in him because Moshe is the first Redeemer and last Redeemer, and he is the continuum. He was the first Redeemer, and in him being the continuum, from him, the extension of him is Mashiach, who will be greater than Moshe. That's true. Will be greater, but it's a spark that comes from him. Absolutely. And ultimately, Mashiach is also bringing us das, the awareness, the knowledge, the front lobe that is able then to extend into making that presence real. Okay. And for the JLI course, by the way, you need to sign up for that. I'll be sending out emails. For those who do not are not on my email list, private message me so I can put you on the email list so you can get all the information that's fit to print. Okay, anybody have a question? Question, comments? Vilma, Batya, Marcy, Sina, Marjan, Arye.
Can I ask you about Moses himself, his descendants?
Go ahead. I wasn't clear on that.
The Kohanim, do they have like the same energy, soul that Moses had?
Very good question. Kohanim, the priests, they don't have the same soul as Moshe Rabbeinu has. In a way, they have something unique that he doesn't. Well, I wouldn't say he doesn't have, but that's special to the Kohanim. Their soul is of chesed, of kindness, and that's why they bless the people, because they are the conduit for that divine blessing. The difference is That doesn't, because I have that power doesn't mean that they live with that power in a real sense. We're talking here about making something that's abstract, something that is um, an idea, could be just an idea for people that's very distant even of the presence of God, the realness of God, the that godliness should be um, as real as the five senses that we have. Now, ultimately, that will happen in the times of Mashiach, but we have that capability now through Moshe Rabbeinu, and that's the greatness of him being the ultimate faithful shepherd and the extension of him in every generation to be able to give that to us. A Kohen doesn't give us anything except it's just a conduit for the blessings of God from above. So it's coming through them, but it's not of them. I hope that makes it clear.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Um, Andrew is asking, what is the correct way to approach studying Tanya? I don't know. If you come here every day and learn, that's a great way. Now, I might, I may that might be my subjective view on it, but definitely it's a good way. Um, of course, if you many people try to take the Tanya and learn from it directly, and it's not so simple, not so easy. So yeah, definitely you could try that, but I don't know if that would be sufficient. So there are many things if you put in Tanya into Rabbi Google, Rabbi Google, you'll get a lot of different ways that you can learn Tanya. Um, but this is definitely a good way. I hope. I hope so. Anybody else like to share? I'm looking over here. Uh, Michelle, talk more about the front lobe. Well, the front lobe is the das. The right brain is chesed. The left brain is gvura, or is chachma. The left brain is bina. The front lobe is das. That's where we know, right from wrong. Why? Because what does it mean right from wrong? Where it becomes real, where morality then has a play, choice, to making the right choice. And that is das, that is then connected to bring it into the emotions, and then um, to affect our behavior. Okay. Sorry. Jay, God said to Moshe that I will be what I will be. Then how does Torah say God's name is? Well, if you look in Torah, the God has many different names. So will the real God please stand up? So God's name is a description of an aspect of God. So Kale is God's kindness. Elohim is God's gevura, judgment and restraint. Havaya is Yudke Vavke is it's got different aspects to it, but that's just a brief. Um, okay. I know now that. Who could share? I know. So Eugene is sharing. Let me read what she has to share over here. I know now that. I have a spark of Moses, Moshe, inside of me that enables me to understand the deeper truth of Hashem's constant presence. Connection with the Rebbe, a shepherd of our generation, allows me to even further internalize this truth. Very good. Excellent. Thank you. Beautiful. Yes. And that is by following by the Rebbe's teachings, following the path that he sets. And by the way, one of the ways in that is watching videos of the Rebbe, which I feel very strongly about, because that's like, gazing upon Moses. As a matter of fact, from here, the Chassidim took, that there's the spark of Moses in every holy divine leader. That spark is not just in their soul, but in their very body, and therefore the looking at a holy person imbues us with a deeper faith, a deeper connection. People ask me, you know, um, well, when do you have a picture of the Rebbe up? For those in my office. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you something for those who are online. Okay, first Instagram. There you see a picture of me with the Rebbe about 30 years ago. I'm going to try to do this with Facebook. Give me a moment. Sorry, Clubhouse. There's a picture of me. The Rebbe giving me dollars about 30 years ago. And the Rebbe looking at me, I'm looking at the Rebbe. We're going to get more into that. But the idea of a righteous person and being connected in the sense of merely seeing imbues us with a deeper, profound sense of godliness, as a holy, righteous person is the embodiment of that. That's an important, powerful idea. All right, any other comments, any questions? Bachid, anybody else on Clubhouse, please. The virtue of Clubhouse is that we can hear from you. You can't see, but at least we can hear. So let's have that benefit. No one right now? Okay. Rena is asking, please explain how to connect on what app to see the Rebbe's words every morning. Okay. Gem is one. Gem is one. Another is I have to look on my the app. Gem, Jewish Educational Media, and I sent that out. I'll send out again. Okay, Rena, we'll make sure I know you've asked. Okay, we'll get on that. Jay, if God's names are different aspects of God, then God doesn't have a name like we humans call ourselves. And these are just references by which we refer to God. You're right, it is different in a certain respect, but God is ultimately beyond the name. No name can embody him in any way. The names are like the divine attributes, are a way that we can grasp some aspect of godliness in our lives. That's what the name ultimately, God's names are. Absolutely correct. Okay. Thank you, Denise, for putting up Gem. Maybe you can put up the link even, but that there's on your phone. You can get it, and you can get it in different ways. All right. Vilma, anything else to share? Marcy, Marjan, Sina, Alon, Aryeh. Okay. All right, folks. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kedeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, Rabbi.